Hello and welcome. I'm Verghese Abraham. First up, let us focus what is happening with regards to the Uttarkashi tunnel. This is the latest that we are getting from what is happening at the Silkriya tunnel collapse site. What we understand is that 2 kilometers of that tunnel, which was already made, trying to access workers from the Barcode side. We are also coming to find out that the global experts, 5 of them, have been flown in to get the best advice on the matter, and meanwhile the trapped workers have also said to be having ample space and lighting so that they can in fact move through that locations, and they are also responsive to the messages that have been sent from the site. And 4-inch pipe is available since the beginning, through which they have been using it as an additional pipe to supply oxygen as well as water to those who are stuck inside. Meanwhile, survival rations as well as medicines have been pushed through with the help of a compressor, and it has reached the trapped workers. So today is day 11 of the rescue work that's happening in Uttarkashi, and some of them, especially the rescue workers, are saying that in the coming hours there could be good news as they in fact try to reach the trapped workers. The government has said that it is on a war footing that they are ensuring that the requisite material and equipment reaches the place. Well, yesterday we did see the first visuals of the 41 trapped laborers coming in, and construction tunnel which was brought in by the camera that was able to push in through to their location and provide them with the requisite help as well. Family members have also been talking with the trapped workers as well. Now, the focus now is on the rescue operations in Uttarkashi, is on horizontal drilling to rescue trapped workers from the tunnel, and machinery has been flown in as well. A 6-inch food pipe was laid yesterday at the Silkriya tunnel in Uttarkashi and has become fully functional. About 5 to 10 kgs of different fruits like apples, oranges, sweet lime, 5 dozen bananas have already been delivered to the trapped workers inside. Meanwhile, food like khichdi, roti and sabzi have also been given to the workers. They have been pushed through the pipes that have already been laid towards them, and the food was prepared under the supervision of a doctor so that it is easily digestible. Meanwhile, the Indian Air Force has flown in at least 18 tons of load from the Rourkela to Dehradun. Specialist equipment is also being flown in from Bengaluru as well. Rescue workers say that there is sufficient water, oxygen and power and light inside the tunnel. A few families of the trapped workers have been transported, and they spoke to the men trapped inside the tunnel. Survival rations, medicines and other essentials are also being pushed through the compressor into the space where the workers are trapped.
आप जाओ ना पाइप के छेद के पास.
Well, these are the latest that we are trying to get in from the area where now the focus is on horizontal drilling, and there are also experts from around the globe that has been consulted on the rescue operations, and their advice has been also been taken as they continue to get the 41 workers to safety. The tunnel collapse had resulted in 41 workers getting trapped, and the biggest challenge has been to move through the loosened debris and to ensure that further collapse can be prevented. The efforts are on by the rescue authorities, especially by various agencies. The SDRF, the NDRF, as well as the local police personnel are also involved in this rescue operations. Meanwhile, the IAF has been flying in the requisite material, food as well as equipments from across the country for the rescue work. Well, Prime Minister Modi will be chairing a virtual G20 leaders summit during the closing session of the New Delhi G20 summit in September. Prime Minister Modi announced that India would be hosting a virtual summit before the conclusion of India's G20 presidency. External Affairs Ministry said that the leaders of all G20 members, including the chair of the African Union, have been invited. 9 guest countries and heads of 11 international organizations have also been invited. Meanwhile, it is speculated that Putin might join the virtual summit, while there is no confirmation on whom the Chinese will be sending in. Shiv Sena UPT leader and party's chief whip Sunil Prabhu was cross-examined on Tuesday in the case related to disqualification of MLAs of the undivided Shiv Sena. Prabhu was cross-examined by the lawyers representing the Shiv Sena led by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. Shiv Sena UPT MLC Anil Parab said that the cross-examination will continue on Wednesday as well. Prabhu had demanded that his statement be recorded in Marathi. He also sought an official translator who could record his statements after alleging it was not being done correctly. The apex court had come under hard on the speaker over the delay in deciding the pleas filed by Uddhav Thackeray faction for disqualification of Chief Minister Shinde and several MLAs loyal to him, saying that the speaker cannot defeat the orders of the top court. Similar disqualification petitions have also been filed by the Shinde bloc against lawmakers owing allegiance to Thackeray. Staying with Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde said granting reservation to the Maratha community without touching the quota of other sections is the responsibility of his government, and work is going on a war footing. Shinde was speaking to reporters in Kolhapur after visiting the famous Ambai temple. However, an Elgar rally that saw the participation of 374 communities have opposed the quotas for the Marathas. Meanwhile, Wednesday saw Delhi's air quality plummeting back to severe levels after 4 consecutive days of very poor conditions. According to SAFAR, numerous areas recorded AQI of over 400 as per Central Pollution Control Board's data at the same time. Now, the city had sustained very poor air quality, hitting an AQI of 372 by 4 p.m. the previous day. Low visibility persisted early in the morning as several vehicles were plying on the highways in the National Capital Region. Now, all government and private schools as well as colleges in the National Capital resumed classes on Monday after the curbs were removed. The pollution control body said that other curbs under GRAP 1, 2 and 3 will continue. These include ban on non-essential construction work, mining, stone crushers and diesel generators.
The following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
The war between Israel and Hamas has entered its 47th day. Israel government voted to back a deal for Palestinian Hamas militants to free 50 women and children held as hostage in Gaza in exchange for a 4-day pause in the fighting. Now, the hostage release in exchange for release of 150 Palestinian women and children from Israeli jails is the big talk time and the biggest development right now. Times of Israel has in fact said that the ceasefire could last for 4 days. Now, deal includes around 308 trucks also entering Gaza from Egypt. Hospitals in Israel are preparing to receive hostages. 13,300 Palestinians have been killed and over 5,000 children have been dead in this conflict. 68 IDF soldiers have been killed in the ground operations so far. Israel says who ignored terror activity at Gaza Shifa hospital, and that is because the WHO had been talking about how the hospitals in that region were not functioning to optimum capacity. Israel has hit out against the UN and the WHO over the functioning of hospitals. Saudi Crown Prince calls on all countries to stop arms exports to Israel. Putin says BRICS could help reach political settlement in the Gaza conflict. Now, South Africa's Ramaphosa accused Israel of war crimes and genocide in Gaza at BRICS summit. Xi, in fact, has also gone ahead and made proposals on the various aspects. Well, in a significant development, the Israeli government has given the green light to a deal resulting in the release of 50 hostages from Gaza. This marks a notable shift, with Israel agreeing to a ceasefire for at least 4 days, the first since the outbreak of the war. The report suggests that the potential release of 50 more hostages, extending the pause by a day for every group of 10 additional hostages located and freed. Now, earlier, Israeli media, including Channel 12, had reported that if the deal was approved, the first release of hostages is expected on Thursday. The delay is because if the deal is agreed to, there must be 24-hour waiting period before it is implemented, to give Israeli citizens the chance to ask the Supreme Court to block the release of Palestinian prisoners. Notably, only 3 cabinet ministers have opposed the deal, all belonging to the religious Zionism party. If approved, the initial release of hostages is expected on Thursday, following a mandatory 24-hour waiting period for Israeli citizens to potentially challenge the release through the Supreme Court. In preparation for the release hostages, 6 hospitals in Israel are readying designated compounds to receive them separately from other patients and media, as reported by the Haaretz. Meanwhile, however, the deal encompasses an agreement by Israel to permit around 300 aid trucks daily to enter Gaza from Egypt, along with the additional fuel provisions. Meanwhile, the full statement on the deal from the Israeli government is going to be expected. The government of Israel is obligated to return home all the hostages, is what is being said. The government had approved the outline of the first stage of achieving its goal, according to which it said that at least 50 hostages, women and children, will be released in 4 days, during which the pause of fighting will be held. The release of every additional 10 hostages will result in an additional day in the pause. The government of Israel, the IDF and the security services will continue the war in order to return home all the hostages, complete the elimination of Hamas, and ensure that there will be no new threat for the state of Israel from Gaza.
יש בחוץ דיבורי הבל, כאילו אחרי ההפוגה להשבת חטופינו, אנחנו נפסיק את המלחמה. אז אני מבקש להבהיר, אנחנו במלחמה, ונמשיך במלחמה. נמשיך במלחמה עד שנשיג את כל היעדים שלנו. במלחמה יש שלבים, וגם בהשבת החטופים יש שלבים. אבל אנחנו לא נרפה עד שנשיג את הניצחון המוחלט, ועד שנחזיר את כולם. עכשיו לפנינו הערב החלטה קשה, אבל היא ההחלטה הנכונה. כל גורמי הביטחון תומכים בה, באופן מלא. הם הבהירו במלוא הערכתם המקצועית, שביטחון כוחותינו יובטח בימי ההפוגה, ושהמאמץ המודיעיני יישמר בימים אלה.
Well, in a significant development, the Israeli government has given the green light to a deal resulting in the release of 50 hostages from Gaza. This marks a notable shift, with Israel agreeing to ceasefire for at least 4 days, now the first since the outbreak of the war. The report suggests that the potential release of 30 more hostages, extending the pause by a day for every group of 10 additional hostages located and freed. Now, we have also got to come around that when it comes to the approval that has been given, it looks like the 24 waiting hour period is something that has been looked into, especially after the deal comes to place. A 24-hour window is given to Israeli citizens to ask the Supreme Court on the release of the Palestinian prisoners, whether it can be released or whether Israeli citizens might ask the Supreme Court to stay the matter. Notably, only 3 cabinet ministers have in fact opposed this particular deal. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese President Xi Jinping and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa call for a political solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict at a virtual BRICS summit. Now, the meeting emphasized on several points on the conflict but did not take a joint declaration. Take a look.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday said the BRICS group of developing nations could help with a political solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The comments came during a televised summit where Putin again blamed the Middle East crisis on the failure of U.S. diplomacy.
We call for joint efforts of the international community aimed at de-escalating the situation, a ceasefire, and finding a political solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And the BRICS states and countries of the region could play a key role in this work.
He did not explain how any effort might be organized. Russian and Western policy experts say Putin is trying to use the Gaza crisis to his advantage, as part of a strategy to court allies in developing countries. Calls for a ceasefire were also echoed by BRICS chair, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa.
As South Africa, we call for, first, an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire. We believe that BRICS has a vital role and a voice in a widespread international effort to achieve a just and lasting peace.
The BRICS group includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. In August, it agreed to expand by adding Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, and the UAE.
Israeli army released visuals showing forces pushing further into the Gaza Strip, including that the army said was an anti-tank missile found under a baby's crib in a Palestinian home in the Hamas-controlled territory. Israeli army has been moving into the southern Gaza region and have been creating a kind of a perimeter for its conclusion of operations in northern Gaza. It has been moving from home to home, and in one of the findings that the IDF had is that they in fact did find a baby's crib hiding an anti-tank missile. The IDF found it during one of the searches in the abandoned apartments that was there in the Gaza region. They immediately secured the place and the ammunition that they had found in that building. Israeli soldiers have been moving through the destroyed neighborhoods in Gaza, and they have been sanitizing the area one after the other, especially after they had met with resistance from the Hamas fighters as well as terrorists who had holed themselves up in an urban warfare setting. Israel has been cautious as it moves with its operations in the urban sectors. It has already suffered a casualty of 68 soldiers till now. Terrorist organization Hamas entity is not just limited to military capabilities or ideological influence, but also is a complex financial network. Hamas is estimated to generate over $1 billion annually from various businesses, and this in turn helps to overcome the challenges the terror organization faces because of economic sanctions imposed in it by the West, particularly the United States. Hamas's monetary operations involve various business ventures, including mining companies and money laundering schemes, which actively contribute to its income. What is significant is that Hamas's financial infrastructure largely exists outside that of Gaza. Its resources enable to maintain a formidable military presence in Gaza. Going by the media reports, each year around $360 million comes from import taxes on goods that are brought in from the West Bank or Egypt. Reports also suggest that such larger amounts, estimated to be around $750 million per day, comes from entities which are based overseas. Israeli officials claim that the main source of funding for Hamas's current stockpile of arms and fuel comes from friendly governments, the biggest of which is Iran. Millions of dollars flow to Hamas through crypto markets as well. Meanwhile, tens of Palestinian patients were evacuated late on Monday, November 20th, from the Indonesian hospital at Al-Nazar Hospital in Khan Yunis. Now, Gaza's health ministry has said that at least 12 Palestinians were killed and dozens wounded by the firing into an Indonesian building hospital encircled by Israeli tanks. Israel says that it shot back at fighters who had opened fire from inside the hospital. On Tuesday, trucks carrying building blocks for a Jordanian field hospital rolled into Gaza Khan Yunis, with many hospitals in Gaza unable to function. Volunteers worked to set up the facility. It's reported to comprise of 2 hospitals, one for trauma injuries and another equipped for 40 incubators to carry for premature babies. Meanwhile, scenes of devastation could be seen in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza yesterday following Israeli airstrikes. People were looking on amidst the rubble and debris of destroyed homes, while others carried the wounded to hospital. In the Kamal Adwan hospital in northern Gaza, crowds of wounded and shocked babies, children and adults gathered for medical attention. Moving on from Israel, the Enforcement Directorate has issued an order to provisionally attach properties worth rupees 751.9 crore in a money laundering case being investigated under the PMLA Act. The immovable assets that has been attached include the National Herald's office premises at ITO in Delhi, the Nehru Bhavan at Mall Avenue near Kaisar Bagh in Lucknow, and the Herald House in Mumbai. Investigation revealed that Associated Journals Limited (AJL) is in possession of proceeds of crime in the form of immovable properties spread across many cities of India such as Delhi, Mumbai and Lucknow to the tune of rupees 661.69 crore, and Young Indian is in possession of proceeds of crime to the tune of rupees 90.21 crore in the form of investment in equity shares of AJL. The Enforcement Directorate had earlier questioned and recorded the statements of Congress leader Sonia Gandhi, her son Rahul Gandhi and that of President Mallikarjun Kharge in this case. Meanwhile, the Chinese foreign minister said that it would be a serious mistake in Argentina's diplomacy if the South American nation were to cut ties with major countries like China or Brazil. China is an important trading partner for Argentina, and its elected government attaches great importance to relations with China. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said at a regular news conference.
据我了解，你提到的内容与俄新社网站公布的采访内容有出入。蒙迪诺在采访中表示，外界对当选总统米莱的外交政策存在误读，没有哪个国家可以脱离外交关系来发展经贸合作。如果阿根廷同中国或巴西这样的大国断绝联系，将是阿根廷外交的严重错误。
Well, the global far right is ecstatic about Javier Milei's resounding election triumph in Argentina, a victory that experts anticipate will transform Buenos Aires into a burgeoning hub for radical populist right. Well, Trump and former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, who are eyeing a return to power in 2024 and 2026, express joy over Milei's success. Milei was already announced plans to travel to the US and Israel after the victory and to pledge to relocate Argentina's embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Born in 1970, Javier Milei made his mark by transitioning from a member of the Rolling Stones cover band to a politician. His journey in the political arena has been notable, renowned for his outspoken and occasionally controversial economic commentary on Argentine television. Milei secured a seat in Congress in 2021, representing the Libertarian Party, Libertad Avanza. His eccentric and unconventional style earned him the nickname El Loco, the Madman. Not just Trump and Bolsonaro, even Portugal's André Ventura has praised Milei's struggle to defend society. Italy's Salvini, Spain's Abascal and Hungary's Novak extended their congratulations as well. Milei achieved a sweeping victory in 21 of Argentina's 23 provinces, but narrowly lost in Buenos Aires, a Peronist stronghold. Experts have advised against viewing it as a major conservative shift, suggesting voters express discontent with Personis amid economic crisis. Javier Milei, an Argentine libertarian, secured a significant victory in presidential runoff election, vowing to usher a new era for the country. With voters pinning their hopes on his political outsider, the focus lies on addressing the country's challenges: triple-digit inflation, an impending recession, and increasing poverty, all in need of urgent resolution. Listen in.
Argentina elected the right-wing libertarian Javier Milei as its new president on Sunday. Voters rolled the dice on an outsider with radical views to fix an economy battered by runaway inflation, giving Milei, an economist and former TV pundit, a clear win with 56% of the ballots. He appears to have successfully harnessed a wave of public anger with Argentina's political mainstream.
Today brings an end to the impoverishing model of the omnipresent state that only benefits some while the majority of Argentines suffer. Today we retake the path that made this country great. Today we embrace the ideas of libertarianism.
Milei's rival, Economy Minister Sergio Massa, conceded before official results were out. In a speech that lightly veiled his centrist concerns over Milei, Massa said Argentina expected the new president to, quote, provide certainty and guarantees to the functioning of political, social and economic systems. Yet it is Milei's promise to shake everything up that seems to have lured these celebrating supporters to his camp.
Argentina needed a change, and that's why I bet on this new proposal.
I want a change for my country that I deeply love. We've been suffering many years of decadence, and this seemed to me like a good option. No more of the same. Enough already with Peronism. We already know them.
The challenges facing Milei are enormous, from the government and central bank's empty coffers to a $44 billion debt program with the International Monetary Fund and inflation nearing 150%. He's pledging economic shock therapy with plans to shut the central bank, ditch the peso for the dollar and slash spending, pushing for minimal state intervention in line with the libertarian ethos. He used to carry around a chainsaw in a symbol of his planned cuts, but shelved it in recent weeks in favor of a more moderate image. The eccentric 53-year-old is also staunchly anti-abortion, backs looser gun laws, and has criticized the progressive Pope Francis. Milei faces a highly fragmented Congress with no single bloc having a majority. This means he will need backing from other factions to push through legislation. After October's first-round vote, Milei struck an uneasy alliance with the country's main conservative bloc. That helped him win middle-ground voters on Sunday, but it could also put the reins on some of his more extreme plans.
3 people were killed and 8 were wounded in an overnight Russian missile attack and shelling in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk and Kharkiv regions. Missiles hit a hospital in Donetsk town of Salvador and coal mine. Interior Minister Igor Kalmenoko said that the Telegram messaging service that these were the casualties that were in fact suffered at that place. 3 people had been killed and 8 were wounded in the Russian missile attack. Germany will support Ukraine with another military aid package worth 1.3 billion euros that will include an additional IRIS-T air defense unit. Take a look.
I have the honor and the pleasure to announce a new package for my visit here, and in this package is included, of course, another 4 further systems of IRIS-T SLM. Is included is artillery ammunition of 155 and panzer defense mines. So we are altogether, it's a package of 1.3 billion euros, and I'm quite sure this is the 5th package since last winter. This will help you in your fight against the Russian aggression.
In a video message commemorating the Day of Dignity and Freedom, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukrainians will not allow their freedom to be taken away. Take a look.
Today we celebrate the Day of Dignity and Freedom. It is a public holiday established to commemorate the beginning of 2 revolutions, the 2004 revolution and the Revolution of Dignity 10 years ago. 10 years ago we started a new page of struggle. 10 years ago, Ukrainians launched their first counteroffensive against unlawfulness, against attempts to deprive us of our European future, against our subjugation. Year after year, step after step, we do everything to ensure that our star shines in the circle of stars on the EU flag, which symbolizes the unity of the peoples of Europe. The star of Ukraine. 20 years ago, it was a romantic dream. 10 years ago, an ambitious goal. And today, a reality in which it is impossible to stop our progress and the completion of all the mandatory stages. Therefore, our candidate status and further accession negotiations should definitely finish with Ukraine's full membership in the EU. And we are doing all this despite the war, when our people are defending themselves and Europe right now, because we have dignity and will not allow our freedom to be taken away from us.
Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis released a video footage on Monday showing armed men dropping from a helicopter and seizing cargo ship in the southern Red Sea. Take a look.
Houthi rebels from Yemen were seen storming a cargo ship in the Red Sea in a video released by the Iran-backed group on Monday. Its fighters appeared to land by helicopter onto the top deck. They brandished weapons at the ship's crew and ordered them to lie down. The seized ship, the Galaxy Leader, is now in Yemen's Hodeidah port area, according to its owner, Galaxy Maritime, which is registered in the Isle of Man. The Houthi movement claims the Galaxy Leader has links to Israel. However, Israel has denied this and says the seized ship was British-owned and Japanese-operated. The owner confirmed the ship was illegally boarded on Sunday. Its crew of 25 is made up of nationals from Bulgaria, Ukraine, the Philippines, and other countries. All communications have since been cut with the vessel. The Houthis are a group aligned with Iran. that have emerged as a major military force in the Arabian Peninsula. Last week, the leaders said they would target Israeli ships in the Red Sea and said attacks would continue until, quote, Israeli aggression, referring to the war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, is stopped. A representative from Hamas thanked the Houthis for seizing the ship. He called it a welcome step in support of the Palestinian people. The United States on Monday denounced the seizure it said was a breach of international law and demanded the Houthis immediately release the vessel and its crew.
China's biggest internet search engine provider, Baidu, has beat third-quarter revenue estimates helped by stronger advertising income as the Chinese economy shows signs of recovery. Take a look.
China's top search engine is doing better than expected, and that might be a good sign for the country's economy. Baidu said Tuesday that third-quarter revenue came in at just over $4.7 billion. That was just ahead of analyst estimates. The company benefited as ad spending rose amid signs of a wider upturn. China's economy is set to expand 5.4% this year, according to forecasts from the International Monetary Fund this month. That's an increase on its earlier forecast, encouraging companies to spend more on marketing. Baidu also beat forecasts on profit. The company is among one of many in China engaged in a fierce war to win the local market for AI services. Boss Robin Lee said earlier this month that the country risked duplication of effort and a huge waste of resources as a result. He urged firms to focus on developing practical applications for the technology. Baidu's own bot, dubbed Ernie, was open to public use in August. An updated version was then unveiled last month.
A transgender woman in Italy sat down for lunch with Pope Francis on the weekend, participating in marking the church's World Day of the Poor. For women from a rundown beach town near the Vatican, the sit-in down represented the culmination of rapprochement with the Catholic Church that began during the pandemic.
These transgender women in Italy are about to sit down for lunch with Pope Francis. Carla Segovia says it's very exciting. They're joining more than 1,000 others on the Catholic Church's World Day of the Poor. It was an invite that seemed almost impossible until a rapprochement with the Church that began during the global health crisis. The 86-year-old Pope Francis has tried to make the Church more welcoming to the LGBT community without changing its teachings. Last week, the Vatican's doctrinal office said transgender people can receive baptism and be godparents at them too. They can also be witnesses at religious weddings. Segovia says those changes give her strength.
I think the fact that Pope Francis today allows us to approach baptism with this legislation, or to perhaps take care of our best friend's child, or of friends who ask us to be godfather or godmother, is something that makes us transgender people feel more human.
While LGBT rights advocates in the Church welcomed the move, conservatives condemned it. They're accusing Francis of sending confusing signals about sexual morality to the faithful. The women live in a rundown beach town about 20 miles south of the Vatican. During the pandemic, while many were strapped for cash, the local parish reached out to the cardinal that runs the Pope's charities. Along with money, the cardinal arranged for help with food and vaccinations. Claudia Victoria Salas is originally from Argentina and a former sex worker.
We came to Father Andrea's church to ask for help. From that moment, Father Andrea always helped us. He opened the door. He brought us food. From there, our friendship was born, as they say in Italian.
She's referring to the parish's pastor, Father Andrea Conachia, or she calls him Saint Andrea. He says the women feel like beloved daughters. His parish's pandemic help eventually led to Sunday's lunch invite. Conachia also attended arriving on a bus with the women as well as dozens of poor people from the parish. Out of all of the attendees, Salas found herself sitting right across from the Pope himself. She says she feels grateful and fulfilled.
For me, it is a bit difficult to answer because I think we already have everything. We cannot ask for more. Because thanks to Pope Francis, we have everything. We must not be selfish. We must be patient. I am 55 years old. I have waited all my life, and now I have everything I need.
Well, that's all in this edition of the Bulletin. Stay tuned to News 9 for further updates.